In this episode, we are going to be covering how to add a very simple dash system using physics. So, first things first, we need to add an input for the dash. So, go to wherever you've set up your input actions, and then I just like to duplicate one that's already set up in a Boolean system, so when you press a button it does something. So jump is usually the one that I duplicate, and I want to rename this to dash. So duplicate that, add that to dash, go to the input mapping that you've got, and then we want to actually add a control for that. So I'm just going to do left shift. If you're already using left shift for something like sprint, just use a different button, doesn't really matter. And then we just need to go into the third person character. So if I right click an empty space, do input dash, and then we get the enhanced input action. And then if we do started, so triggered will mean it's happening all the time. If we do started, then it'll only do it once, and then when we let go we can do it again. And then we want to do a launch character. So this will just use physics to push the character in a given direction. What I'm going to do is wherever the character is facing, it's going to push that. So if I do get actor rotation, so we need to get the forward rotation of the player. The way to do that is to get the actor rotation, and then we get the forward vector. So what that means is it translates it essentially into a location rather than a rotation, which we can't translate into a launch velocity. So if we get the forward vector, that is essentially whatever's forward. You can technically get a right vector and an up vector, but we just want to get the forward. If you, for instance, wanted to do like a super jump boost, you could get the up vector and things like that. But for now, we're just going to get the forward vector, and then we want to multiply this. Right click this second vector that's here, change that to a float, and then we want to multiply this by the amount of force we want to do. The reason we need to do that is the forward vector only gives a number up to 1, and it just gets whichever direction we need it to on an XYZ axis. So we need to actually multiply this by the amount of force we want to give it. So if I do something like 200 and see what that does, what it should be is when I press shift, pushes forward, which doesn't do much. So let's change that to a different number, maybe 1000. So this stage gets a lot of trial and error type stuff, where you just need to try things until something works for what you want. So that's still fairly lacking. So maybe 2000. So that's good. So what the dash will enable us to do is actually get across this gap without needing to actually use that platform. So this could be in a platforming game if you have levels that you can go back to, and it's like a speedrunner type tactic that you can use this new ability that you have. But that's the simple way to do a dash. These X, Y, and then the Z override essentially takes over all of the velocity that you have. So for instance, if I show you this, but then if I go back to that whilst also moving, I should go a little bit further. So I went from here to actually being on the end of that platform. That's because it still includes the inertia, so the current momentum that we have. If we tick that XY override or the Z override, it'll essentially stop all of that inertia and only take in this raw value here. So you can tick that, or you can just leave it as it is. That's up to you, but that's how to make a simple dash system in your game.